Welcome to Storytellers with a Message. This is where I share real stories about real people. I'm Lori Grant, and I'm committed to capturing the moments and lessons that shape our lives. Together, we'll explore stories that teach, inspire, and remind us that everyone has a story worth telling. Angie and I were so excited. We were headed to D.C., just us girls. I had never been there, and Angie had never been out of the state of California, which was surprising. Angie was definitely the bold one of the two of us. She was about 5 years younger than I was, but we were fast friends. Angie had more energy than two people combined. She had never met a stranger, and she had more personality than a schoolroom full of kindergartners. I absolutely knew she was the right pick when I needed someone to go with me to my cousin's wedding in Rockville, Maryland. Tickets in hand, we entered the San Diego airport. We checked our luggage and headed for the gate. It was fun showing Angie the ropes of the travel game. It's funny how I thought I was some super seasoned traveler at the ripe old age of 26. I felt confident that we had everything we needed. Tickets, a little cash, maps, hotel reservations, and our cameras. Looking back now, we were the perfect stereotype tourists. We screamed tourists, even without the obnoxious Hawaiian shirts. The flight was uneventful, and we landed in D.C. right on time. We grabbed our luggage, followed the signs to the metro, studied the map, found our destination, and hopped on the red line. Off we went. We were so proud of ourselves. This was a piece of cake. We watched the metro map as we got closer and closer to our stop. But the further we got away from the airport, the more I started noticing something. With every stop, the businessmen and tourists got off, and the riffraff got on. At first, it wasn't obvious, but then it was. I was getting uncomfortable, but Angie was just staring out the window, completely oblivious. By the time we reached our stop, we were very obviously two tourists in a part of town we had no business being in. I think even if we were wrapped in flashing lights, we would not have stood out any more than we did. As the metro came to a stop, Angie finally looked away from the window. The look on her face said everything. She looked at me like a tire that had just gone flat. The color drained from her face as she slowly stood up. We grabbed our gear and stepped off the train. Outside, it was worse. It was dark. I mean, really dark. Not a single car in the parking lot, and shoes hanging from the electrical wires above us. The few lights that weren't broken were flickering. And there we were, two young women, each with a too big suitcase and a too big purse and a much too big camera bag. According to our map, the hotel was only a couple of blocks away. But which direction? Quick note here. These were the days before cell phones. No calling for help. No pulling up a map, and no asking advice from our good friend Google. Nothing. At this point, Angie completely shut down. She looked at me wide-eyed, full of fear, as if I knew what to do. We clearly had not thought this through. What did two sheltered suburban church girls know about a place like this? We could go back up to the metro and try to catch the train back to the airport. But it was late, and we were exhausted. And then what? Our hotel reservations were here in Capitol Heights. We were sitting ducks. Then, luck, fate, or whatever you want to call it, a police car came into the lot and right up to us. He asked if we were lost. Angie couldn't even speak. I, however, had not lost my voice. So I nodded and said, yes, absolutely. He asked if he could call us a cab. Yes, please, I said, praying he wouldn't just drive away and leave us there vulnerable in the dark. He made the call, told us the cab was on the way, and then drove away. As another wave of fear hit me, I noticed he had only driven about 50 yards from us and then parked. I'm pretty sure he was our guardian angel that night. About 10 minutes later, which felt like forever, a yellow cab rolled up. Not the typical yellow cab you would expect to see. It had cool rims, loud bass shaking the car, and giant Playboy bunny stickers in the back windows. These were not the days when young women hopped into Ubers feeling safe and sound. I don't even think Ubers existed yet. Everything in me screamed that this was a terrible idea, but we didn't have a choice. The driver got out, clearly pulled away from a basketball game somewhere. He popped the trunk, moved a bunch of sports gear around, and we loaded in our bags. At this point, you're probably wondering what was going through my head. Here I was with my zombie-like friend trying to figure out what came next. We had no idea where we were, where we were going, or whether we'd make it there. So I decided to get this guy talking. I don't know why. Maybe I thought if his brain was busy answering my questions, he wouldn't have time to think about robbing or killing us. I just started firing questions at him. How long have you lived here? Do you like it? What sports do you play? Do you follow any local teams? Angie didn't say a word. Here's the funny part. I couldn't understand a single one of his answers, not one. It took me a few minutes to realize he was actually speaking English. I had never experienced anything like this. But he drove us right to our hotel. At least I think he did. We got out, looked around, and immediately decided we were checking in, locking the door, and waiting for the sun to come up. We may or may not have put a chair against the door. We didn't even get dinner, even though there was a pizza place right next door. So here's my message. Sometimes when we find ourselves in the dark with no idea which way to go, grace shows up in the most unexpected ways. I'm definitely humbled when I think about how badly that situation could have gone. I was so sure I knew what I was doing, but the truth is, I only had a plan for when everything went right. I never stopped to think about what we'd do if things went sideways. Looking back, we were two young women who thought we understood the world a whole lot better than we actually did. And I guess that's how life gently teaches us to pay attention. That night reminds me that confidence is good, but wisdom is better. It taught me that stepping out boldly is important, but so is being prepared, paying attention, and having a backup plan tucked in your back pocket. Sometimes real growth happens in the moments we never planned for. And these moments have a way of teaching us what confidence alone never could. This has been Storytellers with a Message. If you enjoyed the show, please hit the subscribe button and leave a review on your favorite podcast app. It truly helps others find the podcast. And if you have a story to tell, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me at storytellerswithamessage@gmail.com. To explore my children's books or learn more about my work, visit www.loriDgrant.com. Until next time, I'm Lori, wishing you joy and peace.